Yeah, I have to admit, the Doctor Who last night, I didn't think it was that exciting. I don't know, it's just a lot of forced tension, a lot of really overwrought drama, that's this Marco Polo storyline. They're getting from the Himalayas to the palace of Kublai Khan in Cathay, China. Barbara's been stuck in the cave, and there's traders have kidnapped her, and the doctor, Susan, that other woman, are going to go search for her. It's just, man, it's not. I hope it picks up. It will pick up. So yeah, I must admit, I was not that impressed with the audio portion, at least, of Marco Polo episode 3. Not much happens in this episode. They just need to include some tension here to fill up an episode 3. Transparent that that's what is going on here. I almost don't want to continue this retrospective for this episode further, to, punish it in a respect. Although, I figured maybe I'll use this opportunity to read out some of the production information and reception of the Marco Polo serial. I might as well. Show creator Sydney Newman suggested writer John Lucarotti, an old colleague from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, to the production team during the show's early development. Story editor David Whitaker contacted Lucarotti to write for the program. Lucarotti, who had recently worked on the 18-part radio serial The Free Journeys of Marco Polo, 1955, was commissioned on the 9th of July 1963 to write a 7-part serial about Italian merchant and explorer Marco Polo titled Doctor Who and a Journey to Cathay. While developing the storyline, Lucarotti struggled with the 4th episode and used anecdotal material from Polo's memoirs, The Travels of Marco Polo, to pad out the plot. The serial was originally placed third in the show's running order to begin broadcast on the 18th of January 1964, but was pushed back to 4th to accommodate the 2-part filler serial The Edge of Destruction. Waris Hussein, who worked on the show's first serial, was selected as the director for Marco Polo. John Crockett directed the 4th episode in Hussein's absence. Like most serials in the show's early history, the costumes for Marco Polo were designed by Daphne Dare. The serial's designer, Barry Newbury, used Oriel Stein's Ruins of Desert Cafe 1912 and Nelson Icon Wu's Chinese and Indian Architecture 1963 for research of the 13th century designs. Newbury also found that Korean architecture from 1900 was similar to that of the 13th century. The incidental music for the serial was composed by Tristram Carey, who previously worked on the Daleks. Carey used conventional instruments for the score, including flute, harp, and percussion, and he recorded electronic voices for the second episode's sandstorm scenes. Mark Eden was cast as Marco Polo. Hussein had seen Eden in the Royal Shakespeare Company's production of A Penny for a Song in 1962. While the serial's narration was originally scripted for the Doctor, Ian, and Barbara, Hussein decided to make the story more personal to Polo, and the narration was rewritten for Eden. Darren Nesbitt, who had appeared in several historical film series in the 1950s, was cast as Tegana. For the role of Ping Cho, Hussein wanted an Oriental actress who had not appeared in the West End production of The World of Susie Wong or the film 55 Days at Peking, 1963, due to the prominence of those productions. Actress Zienia Merton auditioned at Hussein's home and was offered the role. William Russell was unhappy with sudden rewrites minimising the role of his character Ian Chesterton in the serial, and his agent wrote to BBC's head of serials Donald Wilson. Wilson replied to Russell's agent, assuring that he would be watching very carefully to ensure the scripts used Russell's talents to the maximum. The 5th episode featured an untrained spider monkey, which the cast found difficult to work with. Carol Ann Ford recalled that it was a nasty little thing, peeing all over the place and biting anyone who came near it. A week of shooting took place at Ealing Studios from the 13th to the 17th of January 1964, consisting mostly of inserts of locations and props for the montage sequences. Rehearsals for the first episode ran from the 27th to the 30th of January, and the episodes are recorded weekly at Limegrove Studio D from the 31st of January to the 13th of March. When William Hartnell became ill in the first week of February, quick rewrites were performed on the second episode to eliminate the Doctor from most scenes. Hartnell only had one line of dialogue in the episode. For the sandstorm in the second episode, a wind machine was used, with other footage superimposed on top. Hussein was unhappy with the effectiveness of the effect, later stating that it looked like everyone's aerials had blown over. Merton recalled the wind machine blowing sawdust into her eyes, rendering her unable to see for the rest of the scene. During camera rehearsals for the 6th episode, Eden's right hand was accidentally lacerated by a dagger used by Nesbitt. The serial received positive reviews from television critics and viewers. Following the broadcast of the first episode, the BBC Programme Review Board noted that there were several appreciative notes on the show. Philip Purser of the Sunday Telegraph noted that Eden impersonated Marco Polo with sartorial dash, but thought that the main characters were poorly written, describing Barbara as a persistent drip. In The Discontinuity Guide, 1995, Paul Cornell, Martin Day, and Keith Topping wrote that the story was wonderful but a little too loose and unstructured to be the all-conquering classic of repute. In The Television Companion, 1998, David J. Howe and Stephen James Walker described the serial as an amazing tour de force, praising Lucarotti's scripts, dialogue and characters, Hussein's direction, Newbury's sets, Dare's costumes, Carey's score, and the cast performances. In a 2008 review, Mark Braxton of Radio Times praised the serial, stating that the historical landscape was rarely mapped of such poetry and elegance, though he noted inconsistencies in the foreign characters' accents. In Doctor Who The Complete History 2016, editor John Ainsworth described the serial as exotic and arresting, praising the simplicity of the narrative and the exploration of the characters. I suppose that will do for now. If you're so inclined, do view us for episode 4 of Marco Polo, the Retrospective, from AOD. Thanks again for viewing, if you have, of course.